最近おじいちゃんいるから違うけど久しぶりにバイブスあげてこう嬉しそうできるスイカ
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Castaway Anime Podcast. I'm Neon Manta.
And I'm Crunchy Bagels.
And today, we're doing something we haven't done since the beginning of the podcast, something we've denied ourselves and you, the audience, our fans, for far too long now. That's right, we're gonna talk about a shitty anime, and with Season 3 just on the horizon, we're playing catch-up to everyone's favorite incel-bait, Rent-A-Girlfriend. So grab a drink, kick back, and listen up, cause this might take a while.
It's going to take so long. I have so many notes for this show. Before we started the podcast, Neon was talking about how he took far more notes than expected. He was like, yeah, I almost have 1,000 words. And I'm like, 1,000 words? I have 1,700.
What can I say? I kneel. It's very obvious who the bigger Rent-A-Girlfriends stan between the two of us is.
Yes, I am the stan of this show. Yes, I'll definitely be playing a devil's advocate to all of its potentially problematic content. I'm going to be talking about how Chizuru is the best waifu, and how, what the fuck is the mangaka's name? The mangaka
I have no idea.
standing over Chizuru.
I have no way of checking. My anime list is still down because the Lane Bros got to it.
Well, good thing I use AniList. That's right, I use the superior site. Well, except for the moderation, but I use the superior site. So I can see that his name is Reiji Miyajima right now.
Yeah, isn't he? Yeah, you said he had a wife and kids in the group chat, and he says didn't he make a tweet recently about how he drew a picture of Chizuru and called it his girlfriend?
Tweets. Okay, it goes even deeper than that. He will draw Chizuru in real life scenarios, Photoshop her into them, and then talk about how he's going on a date with her. For real.
Yeah. So he's like the Arrow manga sensei author.
What did the Arrow Manga Sensei author do?
Make Arrow Manga Sensei.
Okay, well, you know what?
And is no longer on speaking terms with with his own sister.
Now, I knew about that, and that's hilarious. Oh god.
じゃあ今日は楽しかったありがとうまたね和也くん
No, but so Rent-A-Girlfriend was anime that premiered in summer of 2020 by TMS Entertainment, and I watched the first episode when it came out, and I absolutely despised it. Did you watch it when it came out?
So my opinion of the first episode when it came out, because I did I did watch it, I think as soon as it came out, because everyone was hyping it up, and I watched it and was like, this is exceptionally... I didn't think it was absolutely horrible like you did. I was like, this is exceptionally mediocre and I have no interest for it. And also, it is seeming... My impression of the show, just with no idea what the source material was that it was a cringe comedy, because Kazuya... I mean, okay, it kind of goes without saying why I came out with that impression. And I was like, well, I don't particularly want one, especially with this protagonist. So I was like, yeah, you know, I'm gonna drop it. I don't care. And then, surprisingly though, this will always baffle me, because Rent-A-Girlfriend had so many defenders lining up in droves summer 2020. I remember this viscerally. There were so many YouTube videos talking about how Rent-A-Girlfriend is deeper than you think. There's so much more to the show than you would expect from just the premise. And I'm like, what? Did we watch the same show?
I remember when that show was coming out, people would be like, Mami, that hoe belongs to the streets.
Well, now opinions have seemingly done a 180, you know, even in terms of whether or not Mami belongs on the streets, because people
don't care for the show anymore.
Yeah, and I think the main thing that soiled people's opinion on it is the manga. because now that, like nearly 3 years have gone by since the first season aired. And so people have had time to sort of see more of where the manga is going and realize that, at least from what I've heard, it goes nowhere.
I've
It
heard
has
the
not
same
made
thing.
an ounce of
It
progress.
stagnates, it stales, and there's this one legendary panel. I'm sure you've probably seen it too.
I have
where
absolutely seen
Kazuya,
it.
I forget all the full context behind it, but all I remember, this is the only important part, is that Kazuya's like falling into a pool and he's got a boner because he's thinking about Chizuru getting fucked by another dude and he's like getting off to it, even like to this day in the manga. I'm trying to remember if there was like something more to it that made it even worse. But
the context that I remember, I'm not sure how accurate this is that there was some dude at the pool that was either hitting on her or they were like having a friendly conversation.
Oh yeah, it was happening in real
Kazuya-
time. That was the thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't
And
just like
Kazuya
another
was,
like a
like-
fantasy. It was just
Yeah,
like it was a thing that was happening and he was getting off to it.
Yeah, he was like at first jealous, but then like, but wait, that's hot, but I don't like that it's hot. Needless to say, Kazuya is a main character we all stan, and you should strive to be like.
Oh, don't even joke about that, dude.
I couldn't finish the sentence without laughing.
I want to get into talking about the show proper. I want to double back to what you called it before. You mentioned it. You called it a cringe comedy. I agree with 50% of that statement. It's
agree
very
with
much
50%
cringe.
of that statement too, because my impression
not much
of it
a
being
comedy. Because
Yeah.
I didn't laugh once.
So, I mean, I'll admit it. I laughed a lot at the show. I wouldn't say with the show at any point.
Did
But-
any joke told in the show
No.
like that was trying to like with the goal of making you laugh? Like your brain is recognizing like this is an attempt to be funny. Am I laughing? Did you laugh?
I cannot recall. Actually, wait. A few of Kazuya's grandmother's lines got me. Not the part where she gropes Chizuru. That made me disgusted and want to look away from the screen. But when she says stuff, like when she's wailing for gotcha games, that gets me every time, because that's... I don't know, it's just like a little thing in the background, but I really like it. And there's not a lot to sincerely like about this show. So that's like one of the things I sincerely like about it. Kazuya's grandma, except the time she gropes Chizuru.
It's her being a gamer is like it's surface level amusing, but like it you can tell it's just one of those things that the author just like, how can I make this character like have a goofy also random character trait to make her a little more endearing? I'll make her a gamer.
To be fair, she is one of the most endearing characters in the show.
That is true. She's one of the more likable characters.
Yeah, like, that was another reason why I dropped it in summer 2020, because I thought it was supposed to be a cringe comedy, but I didn't laugh during the episode. I was not finding it funny in the slightest. And so I was like, yeah, okay, if it's trying to be funny, which I thought it was, I was like, well, it's failing, so I'm gonna drop it. But it's more so in attempts at a romantic drama. Emphasis on attempt.
Yeah, well, you see, we were going about it the wrong way. We were thinking it's a cringe comedy, when in actuality, it's a cringe incel-bait.
Yeah, it's... Okay, there's something
I was gonna say, you're
admit.
hesitating as if you're trying to like come up with a point like against what I just
No,
said.
I'm not going to say it's not incel bait. I mean, it's trying to tell... Okay, we're about to get into a whole rabbit hole of a point, but the reason why I'm hesitating is because there's something I must admit to you. Okay. I've never had the best taste in anime. Licorice Recoil and Cyberpunk Edgerunners fans will be clapping and cheering right now that the guy just finally admits it. I don't always have the greatest takes, the most agreeable takes.
Crunchy, if you're just gonna sit here and tell me that you enjoyed Rent-A-Girlfriend
semblance.
more than Licorice Recoil and Cyberpunk Edgerunners, this podcast is actually over.
I still had some semblance of good taste left. until I watched Rent-A-Girlfriend. And you want to know what I experienced while watching Rent-A-Girlfriend?
Suicidal thoughts?
This show... okay, yes. But also, this show is abhorrent. But it makes me so angry. Each and every episode, I did not go a single episode without getting, like, irreversibly angry for like minutes on end. That it loops back around on itself to become just this entrancing experience to the point where I can say that I kind of like Rent-A-Girlfriend because it's so abhorrent in every conceivable way, in a way that most shows aren't. When I am watching Rent-A-Girlfriend, I am debatably having fun, but I'm also piss mad at everything that is happening. And it has become a thing that reminds me that I can in fact feel emotions, that I can feel hatred on this level. And so when I am watching Rent-A-Girlfriend, I feel alive. I am here for however long Rent-A-Girlfriend lasts. I want Rent-A-Girlfriend to last as long as it possibly can, to torment the anime community for decades to come. I want this to be a specter we never outlive. I want this to haunt us for the rest of our lives. The fact that we allowed this show to be popular enough to get a 3rd season, and I want everyone to weep at what they have caused. That is what I feel about Rent-A-Girlfriend.
You see, I want to have the same level of, like, fervish hatred that you do, but instead, like, I did feel hatred watching this show, but, like, at no point was I, like, mad at it. I was mad at the fact that at one point it had fans. And, like,
I get that
fans that
perspective.
watched the same episode I did and just, like, and, like, derived, like, any positive thinking, like, forward emotions or feelings from it.
Well, see, here's the thing. Because it's like this almost love-hate relationship with the show that I have. And it's not sincere love for the most part. There are, like, some aspects of it, I mean, I'm sure we agree on which characters are goated. But, like, most of the thing, it's not sincere love. But somehow it's, like, become this almost endearment where I just feel so negatively towards the show that I want to continue watching it, which is rare for me because like people say, hold on, aren't you know, when you watch isekai, don't you get like this, don't you enjoy how much you hate it? Don't you want to, you know, rant and voice call about how much you despise every waking moment of it? And the answer is yes, but that's because I
don't you want to subscribe to
watching
Crunchy's
the show.
Patreon for $10 a month to get him to rant about whatever you want?
That was random, but yeah, I did rant about isekai there. And
it's the plug, Crunchy. You gotta master the plug.
True. I'm gonna start saying Patreon at the end of every sentence, like a period. There we go. Patreon. But it's like, I don't enjoy the experience of watching isekai because it's like bad in such a boring way. You know, all isekai are identical. They're all these generic characters. Aspects of Rent-A-Girlfriend are arguably generic, but the whole is such a distinctly infuriating experience that I am, like, weirdly entertained by what I am seeing. It's hard to say that, like the most boring episode of Rent-A-Girlfriend is the first episode because it hasn't had time to get as rage-inducing yet. And even then, it still had a scene that made me pissed off. And then after that point, it's just like, I'm not bored at all. I need to see the horrendous shit to the end. I don't know what's got over me.
You say that the first episode is boring. I think that would make for a pretty good opening talking point with intros out of the way and our feelings firmly established.
Yeah, very firmly.
I was actually like when watching the first episode. I knew in my heart of hearts that this was going to be I because I knew how the first episode would go, and I know how the rest of the show goes. So this is a fool's errand, a fool's endeavor. I know, but there was a moment for about 15 to 16 minutes, where Rent a Girlfriend could have been good and was actually kind of interesting and kind of good for 16 minutes. And that was the first 16 minutes of episode 1.
Yeah, see, I'd go a step further and say that although there are parts of episode 1 that are obviously terrible, you could I'm just gonna say it. That could have been the first episode of a great show. Would have slipped up at certain points, absolutely. I would have been like, oh, well, if you get past that hurdle, the rest of the show is pretty good. But, like, I could imagine, like, a good narrative stemming from that. There would be certain things it needed to do afterwards, and pronto, but could have been good.
Well, so what I found interesting about the first episode, and I maybe you'll agree with me too, because I know you've gone on record multiple times saying one of your favorite genres, or at the very least, though, one that appeals to you the most is a neat rehabilitation, or just the
Yes.
fixing of an outcast or someone who maybe not necessarily a social outcast that others have placed the label on them, but a label that they have placed upon themselves, and someone's trying to help them become a more sociable, respectable person.
Yeah, absolutely.
This show is less of instead of neat rehabilitation, this could have been incel rehabilitation. Someone who has like no charm with the opposite sex, and no way of like going about like how to fix it or how to tackle their emotions properly. And this show could have been an interesting like look into both the redemption of this guy who is just a total spineless little wimp baby boy, and also a look into the dubious moral complexities of these kinds of like paid relationship things, or these services that you pay for, and the dangers of relationships forming out of it, or what can be learned from them. Because this rental girlfriend business that's prominent throughout the show is just like a step away from prostitution. Like there's set rules put into place where you can't kiss the girls, you can't fuck them. Yeah, rightfully so. It's just a service where you pay the girl to take you out on, or you take her out on a nice day, and the show makes some attempts throughout to be like, hey, the rental girlfriend service is kind of like, if you're feeling lonely, it's a nice way to maybe cope with the loneliness, if for a time. They take that message a little too far at moments, which we'll get into throughout the podcast, but long and short of it for this point that I'm making right now is that it could have been an interesting deep dive into like this dubious, complex, emotional topic.
How does it fuck it up? I absolutely agree. And the thing is, Chizuru saying like, oh yeah, it's just like a brief escapism into this world where you have a girlfriend and, it can help you out. I actually like that, except for the way the show handles it. On paper, that is a good idea, because what I really wanted this show to be is like a moral, ideological conflict between like what this rental girlfriend business is. I want Kazuya after like 4 or 5 episodes to be like, okay, I'm done with rental girlfriending. I know that's fucking me up. And now, but like he's formed a friendship with Chizuru, never a romantic one, because fuck that, that's the bad ending, and we'll surely rant about that at length. But
it will surely be how the manga and anime end in actuality, because it has to.
But like in the alternate timeline where the show had any self-awareness about how awful of a message that is, they'd just be friends, and Kazuya would be like trying desperately to convince a friend that, hey, this is bad for you. It's not only dangerous because you're dealing with, let's be honest, people who are in the most pathetic states in terms of sociability as possible. These are desperate motherfuckers. You don't want to you don't want to give them what is essentially hopium. You know, like Chizuru paints it as like this brief escapism into another world. But I think that, like, on paper, you can say that that can be true for some clients. The issue is that, well, how true is it really? How many clients are you actually going to get like that? And if you ask me, I don't think it's too many. I think the primary demographic
More
of the
than
rent a
zero would
girlfriend,
be a crime.
yeah, like these are people in very desperate situations who are like clinging on to the hopium that you are giving them. I think Chizuru's ideology is ignoring the reality of the industry. And I want Kazuya to be like the defender of true romantic relationships and be like, Chizuru, all right, the logic checks out in what you're saying. That being said, I don't think it actually applies to reality.
Yeah, I feel it's important that we at least tackle the very first episode in chronological order, and then we can talk about like the rest of the series, however we want, because this is the most important thing. I feel. So the show is about our main boy Kazuya. He's a college student. He just got dumped by his first girlfriend Mami after about a month of dating, and this has left him an emotional wreck. He's depressed, he's dejected, and he's horny. At the thought of his ex getting with other guys, which, you know, is pretty sad, but for like, you can at least, you don't have to like directly relate to it, but you can empathize with him for being like, okay, he's just a sad, horny college student. He's not emotionally mature enough, and you want to see him get better, but like, you can understand at this moment in time why he'd be essentially he's at his lowest point at the start of the series. And so in a moment of weakness and just like desperation to just feel that that passion, that feeling you get of having a girlfriend, he finds this rental girlfriend service app, downloads it, and then hires Chizuru Mizuhara as his rental girlfriend, who goes on a paid date with him, and she's acting all cutesy and ditzy, and saying things about how it's her first time she's been to an aquarium, and like doesn't know anything about like the fish and whatnot. Like I got the impression that while I thought she didn't know anything about the fish, I thought she was just lying about it being her first time to going to an aquarium, because if she's like the top rookie rental girl, she's probably has some experience, has been to aquariums and the such before in the area.
Yeah, that makes sense. That definitely checks out.
Yeah, and it lines up with how like she strategically likes to hold her client's hand towards the end of a date, and so much so that there's like threads online of like of her simps who have rented her out before and sharing their experiences, and it's like, oh wow, she held your hand at the end too.
You
That's
saying
wild.
that is reminding me that she has simps and is making me so angry, but I need to step away from it for a second.
Yeah, so Kazuya then realized, like, he sees all of this stuff, and he's like, he feels like he's been had. He's felt like he's been played. Like, what the show was all that like niceties, just a formality to her. She was just faking that shit, and he's pissed. He leaves her a shitty 1-star review, but then calls her up again the second time, just with the wanting to berate her and her job. And even though she is doing things like taking this job very seriously, when they go back to the aquarium on their second date, she's actually learned some of the fish, like some information about fish, and went out and bought a book on her own time to study up fish that are at the aquarium to do a good job, because she probably genuinely thinks that at first that she was confused why he left her such a poor review when he had said, oh, she's a fucking stupid bitch who doesn't even know the names of common fish, and she's like, oh shit, maybe I should go learn some fish stuff and make this client feel better. So when Kazuya is like got her on that second date and just like giving her the business, being like, how could you like how can you stand doing this and like getting guys' hopes up and like doing all this like these niceties and placating to them like this? Do like how could you like stand there and get paid for it and like you slut? And then Chizuru like turns it around on him for like, motherfucker, you're the one seeking out a rental girlfriend in the first place. You're the guy who downloaded the app, signed the user agreement, rented me out, and paid me to take you out on a date. So like, and it brings it all around to this point that I like wholeheartedly subscribe to of, when it comes to people who get mad at people who like, or who get mad at like girls online who pay for porn or like charge people like for the OnlyFans and whatnot. Who is worse in this scenario? The person charging for female interaction for like sexual gratification from a girl, as indirect as it could possibly be, or the person willingly paying out of their pocket for it? Now these OnlyFans ethos aren't holding these guys at gunpoint being like, you subscribe or I'm blowing your fucking brains out. They're just, yeah, sure, it might be a little shitty that they're preying on like a simp's weakness to like have a girlfriend, but at the end of the day, I blame the people who like succumb to that and who can't rise above it way more than the people who would actually charge for it.
I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, you do like it's your job to sort out like the good media you should consume and the things you should do from the bad stuff. And it's definitely like, although the way I think about it is like, at the end of the day, you are preying on lonely people. And when I see that, I'm like, well, that makes me feel bad. That kind of feels icky.
I feel bad for like both parties involved. I feel bad, like I kind of feel, and like I know it's like, oh, you complain about incel media. Isn't this a very incel take of you? It's just because I feel bad in the sense of slight contempt for those who would charge for it, but then even more so like a mix of contempt and pity for those who feel the need to go out and simp. And hey, you know what? I'll throw my cards on the table. There has been exactly 2 times in my life where I have simped and I would go on to regret them both times. One time I paid for some like of the bonus stuff on Tinder that would make you stand out more, and I felt and nothing came from it. I didn't like get any more matches like they would claim to. I got played, I simped, and I didn't, and I paid the price for it. I simped and I regretted
it. That should go on a t-shirt.
And then the second time was in an actual relationship where it ended up being emotionally abused, and it was not cool. I got financially taken advantage of, and it was not cool. I felt really bad about it, and then after the fact, I was like, all right, you know what? Never again. I've now learned from this experience, and I will not allow myself to succumb to this chicanery at any point, and I will maintain this stance to the day I die. I don't care how much shit I get for it. If you pay for a girl's OnlyFans, you are a cuck. The only porn you should ever pay for is NSFW artists, because at least then you're paying for art. You're paying for like an art piece that is unique, one of a kind, and to your likings.
Yeah, I can see that perspective. And I can't think of an argument against it.
Who would be like, hey, it's whatever, man. It's like the same thing. Who cares if I were to go pay for Der Pixen's commissions or Belle Delphine's OnlyFans? What's the difference?
I mean, I think, all right, here's what I would claim the difference is, because you obviously said that, it's art, it's to your liking, it's creatively enriching for the artist involved. My thing is that when you're paying my voice, goddamn. When you're paying for someone's OnlyFans, it's like at the end of the day, it's hopium, and I think it's hard to separate yourself from this like tantalizing dream of, oh, what if I get the girl? Because another aspect of these OnlyFans creators is that they talk to the people who pay for them in like like direct
The comments,
messages
your
online, and
streams.
yeah, in streams. It's like a direct form of interaction. It's it's the difference between a parasocial relationship and someone who just wants a cool artifact too. And I think there's like a very distinct texture between the two that would make one less pathetic than the other. Far
'cause
less.
when I'm paying for, NSFW art, I'm not paying like for a parasocial relationship to jerk off to a naked a real like naked girl. That person, I'm not jerking off to the artist. I'm jerking off to their art.
Precisely.
Whereas if you're subscribing to Belle Delphine or I don't know, I'm trying to think of all. Does Amaranth have a OnlyFans? Surely. I'm trying to think of all like
almost
the famous. I'm trying to think of all of the famous Twitch.
I mean, it doesn't
streamers who
matter.
do, like,
Just
hot tub,
Twitch
bikini
e-girl,
streams.
hot tub streamers.
By the
stuff
way,
like that.
just kind of a random aside, like OnlyFans is one thing. If you like are subbing to a Twitch girl who doesn't even like post nudes, that's like a worse level of sad. Because at least with OnlyFans, at least you are like getting porn out of it. Like, what are you getting off to a half naked girl for on Twitch?
The thing is, I guess in theory, you could take the stance of like, well, I just want the porn. That's the only reason I'm paying. I just find this girl hot. There's no parasocial relationship involved. And like, okay, that's theoretically possible. But how true is it for most people? Because I'm not sure how well that lines up with reality. This idea that, oh yeah, I'm just paying because I find her hot and want that porn. It's like, at the end of the day, for most people, there's a hopium aspect to it. That's a little, that's kind of not good.
Yeah, and so looping this all back to Rent-A-Girlfriend. How this show could have been great is after their discussion, they had the little argument where Chizuru, rightfully so, does chew Kazuya out for being like, well, what the fuck? Why? How could you get on me for this shit when you're the one who is paying for it to happen? Where the show could have been great is if, out of this instance, and then so Kazuya gets a call from his parents. His grandmother's collapsed, so he's got to rush to the hospital because he's worried about his grandma. For some reason, Chizuru tags along.
That confused the hell out of me. The
excuse that she gives is that you're still on the clock, man. I can't, like, policy says I have to stay with you. But like,
the idea
I feel like at
is
that point, hey, what if hey, my mom just died. I think I'm gonna have to cut this short.
Yeah,
so,
it's like
does the girl just come with?
The excuse is that she's being like super dutiful and taking her job seriously. It loops into this bigger point that I'm going to make later about Chizuru's character, but the point I'm just gonna cut it here and say that she is not as cool and mature as the show thinks she is. She is not.
Absolutely.
She thinks like a child. That is a child's mentality of like, oh, I need to finish the job, even though there's clear extenuating circumstances that would make it acceptable to, not tag along. The client doesn't
Billy,
want you
I
to
don't
tag
care
along.
if your dog got hit by a car. We're in the middle of freeze tag.
It's so. That's such a perfect analogy. It's so goofy though. Like Chizuru is insufferable, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, so so when both Kazuya and Chizuru arrived to the hospital, it's not as bad as they thought. The grandma just fainted. And so when they get there, and the family's like, "Hey, Kaz, why do you got this this total hottie with you?" And he's too embarrassed to admit that he got a rental girlfriend, and also because his grandma is like, "Oh man, I've wanted you to have a girlfriend for so long. I didn't think you'd actually get one, but now here you are with this total hottie. I'm so proud of you, Kazuya." He's too ashamed and embarrassed, doesn't want to admit to his grandma that he went out and rented one. So he passes Chizuru off as his real girlfriend, to which at first she's like, okay, I'll play along for just this little bit, but then afterwards you gotta have to like fess up, bro. But then we find out that Chizuru's grandmother is a friend of Kazuya's grandmother, and she's also at that same hospital, and they formed this friendship there. So then when she comes and Chizuru's like, oh shit, I can't have my grandma knowing that I'm a rental girlfriend. I can't admit that to her. So she doubles down on the lie for her grandmother, even when Kazuya's about to own up to it and be like, you know what? I shouldn't do this to my grandmother. It wouldn't be right. I owe her this much. She's like, yeah, we're dating. So that is when the show starts spiraling downward.
The thing is, it didn't need to necessarily become as bad as it eventually gets. Even with that premise, like, I'd say that's, like, maybe a slight misstep. There are ways to rectify it and maybe turn it into, like, a meaningful plot point. Like, oh yeah, I was, like, trying to live the dual life. Because the theme of this show, I know, Rent-a-Girlfriend and themes, but there is this theme of, like, authenticity, and we see it more as we go on, and it could have played into that in its own small way without becoming what it does, let's say.
Yeah, there's moments like, so I'll say right now, here's how you make Rent-a-Girlfriend a good, interesting show. You can keep the having to convince their grandmothers and their families that they're dating for a while, but instead of making that like the entire crux of the show, you keep that up for a little bit, and then in that in between time, and you have that little scene afterwards when Chizuru and Kazuya are talking outside about, Kazuya's opening up about his relationships and how he wanted to make his grandmother proud that he could present a girlfriend of his very own, and how he, taking into account how he thought he had treated his ex with like so much attention and care, only for it to not matter at all because she dumped him for another guy after a month. So he's coming at relationships that's like, like I do want one, but I'm at this crossroads of like, what can I do? I tried so hard to get with this girl and make her, feel special and loved, and she went around and dumped me and got another guy in just a month. So if I can't do it, but I want to, what do I do? And Chizuru should have been like, all right, listen up. It, like, during this time where we're stuck in the middle of this ringer here with lying to our families about this, I will help you. It could be even with like the trial dates, or with just like, I will like have conversations with you about, from a girl, give you a woman's perspective, and help you out with your girlfriend troubles. And we can do that both until we have enough time to break things off in front of our folks so it's believable, and that way, so you, as my client, you can come out of this with a positive outlook on relationships again. That doesn't happen. What ends up happening is they go into a bed to hide. Kazuya, like a weirdo, thinking that because at that moment in time they are boyfriend and girlfriend, even with the rental service, attempts to like kiss her non-consensually.
That made me so angry.
Chizuru, rightfully kicks him off. I think she kicks him in the dick to be. Am I remember that right? She kicks him in the dick.
That lines up with my memory. So yeah,
I'm pretty sure I remember him clutching his crotch afterwards. And then they have the talk outside. But then Chizuru, in this moment of in like genius god level writing, what was his name? Reiji Miyamoto or some shit?
Reiji Miyajima.
Alright, Reiji Miyajima is actually a writing genius, because he figured out how to make you hate a character so irreversibly and irredeemably for the entire duration.
I know what you're talking about.
Where after Kazuya opens up, like, it bears his soul to Chizuru and is like being completely emotionally honest, something he is not a lot.
Dude, I was like genuinely like super into that speech where he was like, okay, I'm gonna like fix my life, find someone real to bring to my grandma. And I'm like, yes, Kazuya, let's go. That's what you should be doing.
And
Woo!
Chizuru comes over with the positive reinforcement, slaps him in the face, and then proceeds to like berate him for how corny it is. To which she then, not even 15 seconds later, when he's like, "Oh yeah, you're one to talk about corny when you do all that, you put on a facade when you're in girlfriend mode in your business." She's like, I do that for my job. When it comes to my job, corny is fine by me. I was like, okay, cool. I hate Chizuru now. I want her to die.
That's not even the worst thing she does. That's the worst part. And all right, I have a serious question. Reiji Miyajima, why her? Why is she, of all the girls you would choose to simp over openly on Twitter, why the worst? All right, think about it like this. She has the worst personality of all the girls. She's the least hot. Why would you go for her? She's annoying. Like, okay, her appearance is like fine, whatever. I guess she's a little pretty.
Hey,
But her personality is irredeemable.
Her personality is irredeemable, and this is from a show that also contains Mami. But I will disagree when you say she is the least hot of all the girls.
She is the least hot.
I find her more attractive than both Mami and Sumi.
Well, that's
I think
just
Ruka is
wrong.
the hottest.
Ruka, okay,
but
you're redeemed. Ruka is absolutely the hottest.
When I say Chizuru is hot, I don't mean that in like a that is the nicest thing I could say about her is that she's nicely drawn. The TMS did a real good job, and I'm sure Reiji in the manga does a good job of drawing her as sexy as possible because they have to in order for the show to work. Because like you can't imagine if Chizuru looked as bad as like the girls from fucking Rokudo's Bad Girls or whatever the fuck that show was with the awful
this show
female
would
character design.
This show would have no fans left.
Yeah, that's how they get the simps for Chizuru in real life. They have to make her as hot as possible, and there are plenty of shots where she is just insanely hot.
I didn't really feel that way. I think
Particularly when she's like blushing and her hair is like
actually
in a
there's
mess.
There's one shot where she's in the shower and it's like panning up over her. She's like blushing. You got a little blush in her face or whatever. I liked that. Other than that, I felt nothing for her. And the thing is, it's because she's like, to use a food analogy, like a slice of toast. Like, sure, toast is important. It's good. You can have it with a bunch of other things, but it's not offensive or anything. But it's not particularly good. If you want cute, you go Sumi. If you want pretty, you go like probably Sumi again. If you want hot, you go Ruka and Mami. Where does Chizuru fit in?
If you want literal sex goddess, you get the freckles girl with the thin eyebrows, who is like the friend character from the beach episode,
okay,
and you try to do whatever you can to save her from this show that she's shackled to.
I too felt that way.
She is the actual hottest girl in the show.
A based opinion, but what you were saying about like the good version of Rental Girlfriend, there were lots of. For reference to the listeners at home, I talk a lot in my Discord server that Neon is also in spoiler tags about Rent-A-Girlfriend because I didn't want him to know my opinion on this show until we had this podcast.
But I want to cut you off just real quick, and then I'll let you say your piece because I just want to finish my earlier point about how to make Rent-A-Girlfriend a good show. You can keep a romantic like attraction between Kazuya and Chizuru, and it could be one-sided, it could be both-sided, but it can't be the end game. The show cannot end with them in a relationship because they have to find out that they like are wanting two different things, and it's like their relationship would not be healthy, clearly, and like at the end. Also, it's important to drive home the fact that the solution to if you are lonely and you are seeking like female companionship Don't go to a rental girlfriend service in the hopes of, oh, maybe she'll fall for me for real, like this show is peddling.
Okay, I want to hard pivot into that point after I say this. I want psychological, heady rent-a-girlfriend. I want the show to be like a little more depressed and chilled out with like a more desaturated color palette. Kazuya's got a bit more of an intense glare on his face or whatever. And I want it to be like about the emotions of people like early into college who are dealing with like adolescence. I'm not sure if that's actually the right term, but like dealing with those emotions of being like a young adult and this like need, because at this point in I think it's like Eric Erickson's stages, it doesn't matter. You're like at the intimacy versus isolation part of it, and it could be about that and about how they can spiral into like negative habits. It could also be about authenticity. It needs to be, we need to be having like philosophical debates by episode 10. We need to be having like conversations about the nature of the rent-a-girlfriend's business and what it means for the people involved, and we need to attack this at the heart. And what you were saying about like it doesn't matter, like it could be that Chizuru and Kazuya are in love. Like my stipulation for that is that
like it can't start that way. It can like form later down the line when they
absolutely
when they've like talked to each other a bunch and like they've gotten to know each other and are falling in love, but. For the sake of what the show needs to like to push for to have a positive message, it can't end with them in a relationship. Like so, they could attempt one, but they have to like come to the conclusion that this is like we are not good for each other. We should only be friends. I want the show
to be like more directly about the fact that Kazuya simping is just this abhorrent personality flaw that he needs to get away from, that he can't continue with. And him being a simp also can, be reinforced with the Ruka, stuff where he's like sort of has the hots for her, but also doesn't. He's still simping for Chizuru, and Ruka's gonna be like, either Ruka or Sumi in this alternate good timeline would be like the ideal girlfriend for him, but because he has these simping, the simping tendencies for Chizuru. This parasocial relationship that she cannot reciprocate. It's like you could do so much with that. Let's get to it, because the maddest I ever got at this show is episode 10. I know we're skipping ahead here, but there's this one moment that is related to this topic that made me so unbelievably angry. I was like ranting in all caps in my notes because I could not believe what I was seeing. So in episode 10, right, I'm gonna get my notes out. There's this moment where, okay, actually there's a bit of setting the groundwork I need to do. Kazuya cucks himself. Kazuya straight up cucks himself. So Kazuya, yes. With his feelings for Chizuru, at this point he has admitted it to himself. He is in love with Chizuru, and he decides that the best way for his friend to trust in women again and want to go out on a date is to have him rent out Chizuru for this dude. Cutie is his name. Somehow I remember that. And
let me correct you something real quick. It's if you're talking about that scene, it's episode 11, not 10.
It's episode 11.
I'm pretty sure.
No, I put all my notes labeled by episode. It's episode 11 is the Sumi episode.
Episode 11.
Yeah, it's episode 10.
Okay, you know what? I just realized because my notes break pages in between 11 and 12 because I literally have one episode for 11. I have one note.
Well, yeah, it is not a particularly eventful episode. But anyway, so episode 10, Kazuya cucks himself and is like, okay, best friend Kuribayashi, date Chizuru for this rental date because it's gonna instill in you the motivation to get a girlfriend. Absolutely stupid. And also way talking up what being a rental girlfriend and having one can do to you. I don't think you want to know how a rental girlfriend is going to motivate you to get a girlfriend. You're not gonna be like, oh, having a girlfriend is so awesome, I want one now. You're going to realize how much of a pathetic piece of shit you are for paying for some prostitute. And you're gonna be, you're gonna get home, cry yourself to sleep, and say, God damn, I never want to do that again. I need a real girlfriend so I can stop being so pathetic and paying for OnlyFans models. That's what's gonna happen. But I digress. So
yeah, my note that I wrote down right next to Kazuya pays Chizuru to date Kuri to make him feel better about women is, no, stop making people think these kinds of relationships are okay. This is not how you try to get a girlfriend.
So that aside, that big thing aside, Kurebayashi at the end of the day asks Chizuru, you would never fall in love with a client, right? And this is the moment where, in a good show, she'd say, yeah, no, not even a chance. This parasocial relationship Kazuya has is, not good for him. He cannot have it. People out there in the world, you should not simp for OnlyFans girls. You should not have a relationship with them or want one. And yet. So
what does she go and say while on the job, might I remind you?
Okay, so she's about to answer no, but then it cuts to flashbacks of her with Kazuya, a series of him interacting with her, and she thinks to herself, and she says, we wouldn't fall for a client, ... I guess. Who knows?
Maybe? Who knows? That's toxic. This is bad media.
This
is dangerous.
I mean, I hesitate to say that it's outright dangerous because, it's hard for me to think of any show as outright dangerous to show to society. But if there was a show that was dangerous to show to society, this scene would be it. Because Chizuru is not only openly considering Kazuya, and Chizuru is not only, telling a client on a date, yeah, maybe I would, maybe I'd fall for one, you have hope. Not only is she getting this random schmuck's hope up for no reason, but the show is, not pushing back against it at all. We all know what the show's going to end with, and she is openly saying, yeah, I'm considering him, even though I'm a prostitute, I'm gonna date one of my clients. Yeah, and it's what the fuck? No, this is bad. That's the bad ending. Chizuru, don't get with Kazuya. That's a bad message to spread. Sex workers do not care for you. Do not put that in a show. That's not healthy. God, I'm going bald watching this show. I am actively molding while I watch this. And that's what I love so much about it. I get so pissed angry at it.
I don't love that. I hate that is a thing. Yeah, it makes for good podcast content. Don't get me wrong. But then I think of I get the intrusive thought that, oh God, what if there's this actual poor stupid incel who's watching this and now getting the message oh, well, if maybe if I pay for this, maybe if I donate $1,000 to this bitch's e-thoughts OnlyFans, maybe there's a chance, if ever so slightest, that she might like me and maybe want to have a relationship with me. It's no, that's such a dangerous thing to tell people who are already in not the best mental states.
I mean, you were saying the same thing about Dangers in My Heart, but at the very least, that show actively pushes against what its protagonist represents. Where it's if you connect with Ichikawa or whatever, you know what, that's pathetic for you, but at least the show's going to push against that and say, no, don't be like that. You need to grow as a person. Can't just keep on being some weird serial killer LARPer. But the thing is, if you resonate with Kazuya, this show is never going to push back against those feelings. It is going to say, listen guys, you just gotta keep on renting out Chizuru.
Everything that Chizuru was chewing Kazuya out for in episode 1, when Kazuya's how could you lead people on like this? And she was getting all defensive and rightfully so about, she's now doing the fucking opposite.
It's so
she's doing everything that Kazuya was berating her for.
And the thing is, I'm sure someone out there could make the argument oh, it's going to eventually push back against these ideals is going to eventually show that Chizuru is
It's
wrong,
never
that this
gonna
is
do
wrong.
that,
It's
bud.
not. It's not. It's not. It
It's not
absolutely
that kind of
isn't.
show.
And furthermore, like, even if it was, couldn't you just like get to it quicker? Make your intentions more evident when Chizuru is saying that, like, oh, you know, you're like, oh, I'm in love with Kazuya. It's like, if the show, I could actually see a version of the story where that same exact sequence happens, but it's like actually good. Because in this good version of the story, Kazuya is like more openly shown to be depressed. It's shown in like exquisite detail just how much this rent-a-girlfriend simpery is messing up his life. And then Chizuru says that, but it's like super clear that that's not what would be good for anyone involved. That's the thing. That's what I mean when I say the show needs to make its intentions clear. Because although I think its intention is to genuinely get Chizuru and Kazuya together. But even
the
if you
reason
made
that
the
he has to
argument
go out and get a
yeah.
job in the series is because he's been
Yeah.
sinking too much of
that
his
made me
money
so-
into
that made me so
Chizuru's
heated.
pocket.
So, you know, obviously the series is going towards the ending of like Chizuru and Kazuya getting together, but even if it was saying like, yo, that's bad thing, you can still make that intention clearer. You can still make it so that it doesn't make me mauled and for my hair to be on the ground. Like, there is no hair on my head anymore. This show made me bald. Like, straight up. Not even a joke. This is the reason why I'm balding. This is every episode of the show, by the way. It's not usually as bad as what happens in this episode, but every episode has a moment like this where I just completely flip my shit, and I am for whatever reason.
I struggle to remember if every episode
so-
has a moment like that maddening, but the
Not
feeling never
that
goes away.
maddening,
The
but
show
yeah.
never like takes a newspaper to the snout and be like, no, bad, do not think that. It is
It's
never
not even
disencourages
just
it.
that. Well, yeah, obviously, and that's a
Discourages, rather.
huge issue with the way it portrays the rent-a-girlfriend's business and whatnot. But there's so many, like, even if you, because what this show really is like a very trashy romantic dramedy stapled on top of this like weird rent-a-girlfriend stuff. And the rent-a-girlfriend stuff doesn't really affect the story in any meaningful way, except for the fact, or I guess rather, it affects the stories, it does not really affect the themes and like what its overall message is. Because at the end of the day,
when it probably like really
just-
should, if that's
yeah,
what
it
the
should.
foundation of the show is based upon.
but no, instead it's like this trashy rom-com dramedy, whatever, like stapled on top of the rent-a-girlfriend whatever. And what it, like, the show seems to be attempting to go somewhere with it, because the connecting thread between all the characters is that they're all liars, right? Chizuru is like having this false relationship. Mami, or rather, I shouldn't say they're all liars, though they all kind of are, but it's like there's something
Sumi's not a
false
liar.
about the way. What's he say?
Sumi's the one honest.
Yeah,
Sumi's not a
Sumi
liar.
is-
Sumi's the one honest
Well,
girl
I'm
in this
going
whole
off of
show.
the assumption that something messed up is going to happen to her in season 2, and that the only reason she hasn't been tainted is because the show hasn't had
Sumi's
any time
actually a
with
closet
her.
serial killer.
But like, yeah, I sort of misspoke when I said they're all liars. It's like there's something false about the way Kazuya interacts with them. So for Chizuru, it's this fake relationship that they're lying about. In Mami's case, it's that Mami is a social manipulator and he's like interacting with this fake personality of hers. In Ruka's case, it's that they have a relationship that Kazuya really does not want to be in, but he doesn't have the heart to tell her yet. And there's like extenuating circumstances that he's dealing with.
a
where it's
little
like,
bit
I
of
can't-
blackmail for good measure.
Yeah. Sumi is like pure, it's untainted, but somehow I get the feeling that season 2 is gonna mess her up. No one's told me this. If a character is in this show long enough, it is very.
I mean, the obvious answer is that she's gonna fall in love with Kazuya because she has
that's
to. She's one of the
horrible.
4 main girls.
God,
4 main girls
I
who
want
also
Sumi
only shows up
to-
in 1 episode of season 1.
Yeah. But I mean, that's not a huge deal, I guess, because there is season 2. It would have been a bigger deal back when there was only one season, but now that there's season 2, not big, but I just want her to escape, exit this show, because she is like
She's too good for it.
arguably the most likable character, the most traditionally likable character, I should say.
I mean, you say that when she, outside of like an opening monologue at the beginning of the episode, like mostly done in her head, she says like 5 words.
That's why she's the most traditionally likable character, Neon. That Reiji didn't give her a chance to speak, and that's good, because if a character speaks in this show, they're gonna say something that's gonna piss me off.
Best to stay shut your mouth and let people think you're stupid than to open and prove them right.
Yeah. Oh god, there's so many moments that I could talk about. So,
while we're on the we left it a little bit, but while we're on the subject of Chizuru being an awful bitch who makes things worse, in episode 2, here's a golden moment when Kazuya is about to tell his grandma the truth, and she kind of, it seems like she's kind of already figured it out and just like is willing to accept the reality.
Neon, you reminded me of the scene that pissed me off in episode 2. I'm telling you, it's every episode.
And then Chizuru swoops in like reverse Batman to continue the doubling down of the lie when they could have just left well enough alone and the problem would have resolved itself.
So the show, there's this contradiction in the way that Chizuru is presented that really irks me, and it's that the show clearly thinks of her as like the harsh, but at the end of the day cool and mature type. The issue is that the show also thinks she's like a kind person deep down. And the way this manifests is that Chizuru is a cool and mature person who is so easily swayed by her emotions that she will do things that are just straight up like nonsensical, bad idea, no, stop, and that's one of them. She swoops in because she's like hearing Kazuya's grandma going on, and she's like, oh, I feel bad for her in the moment, and it's like, my brother, my sister in Christ, you're only making things worse for her. She's going to eventually feel that pain anyway, and if you keep up the lie, it's gonna be worse when it actually happens. But because she's so easily swayed by her emotions, she has to swoop in and quote-unquote save the day, because she's just so kind. No, you aren't kind. You're making things worse. You should have just kept well and fine alone. And she, like, feels this, like, at this point, she's probably in love with Kazuya. Some people would disagree. She's probably in love with him. And she, like, gets oddly endeared to him. Like, I don't even really... Her friendship with Kazuya feels so forced. Because she's, like, so... Yeah. Like, she's so harsh to him and says nothing good about him. But if I were to say, like, the canon reason why she cares for him, it's because she has, like, such a soft, quote-unquote, soft heart. She feels pity for him at multiple times in the series, and that, like, changes the way she approaches him, but in a negative way. Like, in episode, I think it's 6, where they're at the hotel together, and Kazuya's like, it'd be so inconvenient for me to tell our grandmas the truth right now. Could I just, like, keep the lie going a little bit longer, Chizuru? It's just so inconvenient for me. Yeah, hey, Kazuya-kun. I feel you, man. It'd be so hard for you to tell the truth. I'll just keep on placating you. Or an episode, I think it's the end of episode 7.
I'm the mature one in this scenario.
Yeah, she's the mature one. Sure, man. But at the end of episode 7, like, Ruka is trying to blackmail Kazuya, right? And is like, her way of getting what she wants is to cling to him incessantly and cry or whatever. And she's like, crying on the sidewalk because Kazuya won't get with her. She's like, my brother in Christ, just please, just make me a trial girlfriend. Now, there are reasons that Kazuya can't get with her that I don't entirely buy into and I will surely get to. But the one nail in the coffin, I guess, is that she is willing and able to blackmail them. Now, the lie is stupid, and frankly, if Ruka did tell everyone, that would be a good thing, and I would applaud
net
Ruka.
positive.
But, it is nonetheless, like, she's blackmailing someone to become her boyfriend, which is not a great look. And Chizuru, picks up on that and is like, okay, you know what, Kazuya, maybe you shouldn't get with her. And then Ruka starts crying. And Ruka's like, I just love you so much. And Chizuru does a 180. She's like, oh, she's crying. She is in love with him.
Jeez,
Never
Rick.
mind. Jeez, Rick. And never mind my logical assessment of the situation that told me that it would be bad for you to get with a girl that you aren't sure you're in love with that did try to blackmail you. No, I'll just date her, Kazuya. You should date her. And that's the thing, where it's like, I can sort of, I'm not personally super all over these characters, but I can see being into the cool, mature type, because, they're like, well put together, maybe you aren't so well put together, but you can, like, latch on to that image and be like, okay, well, there's, she, like, builds me up by being, actually, like, prim and proper and put together and whatever, and has her life in order. But Chizuru isn't really like that. She is highly emotional to the point where she will just go back on what she logically knows to be correct in order to, like, placate someone's emotions, or because she, like, finds them pitiable. To me, the way it comes off, and I'm not sure if this was the intention, but the way it totally comes off is that the only reason she really cares about Kazuya is because she pities her, because otherwise she shows, like, very little affection. And that, like, that's the only thing you could theoretically like about him, because otherwise I put him as a trash can on the thumbnail.
I want to point out that the thing that Chizuru has, like, when in episode 4, I think it was, when after Kazuya and his friend have a fight, the friend Kibe comes to Chizuru and gives her, like, a whole story about how, he's got a good heart, he's good at heart, he gives things his all when he's passionate about them. And I feel like so many of, like, the reason that Chizuru falls for Kazuya are either stuff that shouldn't, like, be good enough reasons, or, like, she, like, highly flanderized. Like, she has to be told why Kazuya is such a good guy instead of just, like, seeing it.
Well, I guess she does see it later when Kazuya saves her by jumping off the ferry, which, by the way, I'm just gonna say right now, like surely they had staff on the boat that were going to come get her. Maybe they didn't, I don't know. But I mean, my first thought was, well, hold on, you're interfering with whatever rescue they're about to do. They're going to have to save you as well.
Well, what I adore about that is how the thought never crosses Chizuru's mind once that maybe Kazuya saved her life less because he is into her and wants to fuck her, and more that it was probably just the right human thing to do.
At the end of the day, like, how many people would save someone drowning? You do have to, like, dive off a boat. I guess it's, like, on a basic level, like, a brave thing to do. I'd argue that,
it was brave of him. I won't take that away from him. I just love how it never crosses her mind, like, once that I guess Kazuya's like, he does good things sometimes, or like, no, like, we see her depicted, like, blushing or, like, unable to, like face him head on without getting emotional. I think
that's, like, suspension bridge effect. Oh, he saved me. The guy saved me. The thing that all girls fall for in anime.
True.
But, like, and I guess that's, like, a basically good thing. And one thing that is kind of illuminating to Chizuru's mental state at this point is that the people who Kazuya, like, just admitted to that, like, they broke up and that they were splitting apart, Chizuru's like, yeah, of course you'd save me, because you're my boyfriend. So she's like, at this point, she's the one keeping the lie going in this instance. She is the one who, chose not to say, oh yeah, we broke things off anyway, even though he saved me. We're still gonna be friends though. That could work. Instead, she's like, no, we're actively dating. Like, we're still dating. He's still my boyfriend. No, she like wants to keep the facade going. And the only reason I can think of is that she got suspension bridge affected into, like, kind of at the very least considering him in that moment. And by the end, she's, like, absolutely in love with him, like, pretty much. I mean, you can always go back on it because that's how these harem shows work, but the evidence is there. She's pretty much, she's pretty much been accused of the crime. At that point.
I just want to make a note about how you call it the suspension bridge effect, the how she's like it might make her fall in love with him more. Ain't that like compounding that on top of the whole parasocial rent-a-girlfriend business? Ain't that a little more dangerous to be one of the reasons that she ends up falling for him? Not because like because she like recognizes his qualities, but because she was put in a dangerous scenario that he saved her from. Ain't that like a little more dangerous? Doesn't not help the case?
Well, like, what do you mean by dangerous in this moment? Like pushing a dangerous message?
I mean, obviously, save people who are in danger, but
yeah,
I can't help but feel that it's not helping the allegations of tying back to the whole episode 11 thing where or 10 thing when Cheese was like, oh, I don't know, maybe, who knows, we could fall in love with one of our clients. I feel like having your character then like be attracted to a more so because of the suspension bridge effect and less so because of just seeing his qualities.
True.
That's the point I'm making.
Yeah, and I think it is. I mean, I guess in the show's mind, it's showing that like, hey, this is Kazuya's good trait. He's kind at heart, but like, at every other point in the show, he's just like so pathetic, and it's like it gets to a point where it's like, surely the suspension bridge effect has worn off at this point. I mean, I'd have smacked him in the face about a dozen times at this point. When Ruka smacks Kazuya in the Love Hotel because he said that he's keeping this lie going that, Ruka, you can't be all over lovey-dovey around me near my grandma because we're keeping this lie going. When she smacks her, I was like, I stood up and clapped. Like, at some point, Chizuru, my girl, bro, why would you, at some point it has to wear off, and at some point you have to, like, at least show some level of affection towards him for it to be believable. But no, she's just, like, always seemingly mad at him for some new dumb thing he did, to the point where it just feels so unbelievable that they're possibly even friends, let alone, like, in love with each. Well, it makes sense how Kazuya's in love with her, but, Chizuru being in love with him, why? What part of this man are you in love with?
Yeah, speaking of, I think this is a good time as any to pivot our hate boners away from Chizuru and point them directly towards Kazuya, because he is not much better.
He is not. I'd say he's like the least likable person in the show. Chizuru is a close second, but Kazuya.
I am annoyed by Kazuya more often than I am annoyed by Chizuru, but I think Chizuru just peaks in she does things in the narrative that makes it worse, that angers me more.
True, because she's like the main one pushing this weird message of like, hey, your OnlyFans model will date you. So I can absolutely see that perspective.
If you donate enough, fellas.
But I pinned that more on the show, the show that she's trapped in, I guess. Although it is still infuriating. But Kazuya, I mean, everyone agrees he sucks, and it's not even
Rent-a-Girlfriend fans agree that he's the worst.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's not, the problem isn't that he sucks, is that he doesn't grow. Because Rudius from I know I talk about Mushoku Tensei all the time, but I love that show. And Rudius starts off as so self-centered and like, a complete pervert, gropes heiress. He is super like bad guy, annoying, cunty. Very few people like him at the beginning of the series. But you know what? I liked Rudius the entire time, and you want to know why? Because he grows. Because I saw the show's intention was like, I'll hear you out, I'll see where this guy's going. And by the end of episode 2, he had made significant progress, and I was like clapping and being like, okay, I see what the show's going for. I see that he's going to, in fact, develop and change over the course of the series. And sure enough, by the end, he's like, he fucks a 15-year-old. That's not a good thing. But at the, I should have put that "but" there. God damn, I'm gonna get clipped out of context.
I like how you spent this whole time like, yeah, I know he's a bad guy, but no, he works to do a whole lot better to improve himself. That's the whole point of the show. I'll hear him out. I mean, he does fuck a 15-year-old, but I think he's still getting better. he fell off the wagon, guys. Come on.
But like, oh God, I should stop saying "but." At the very least, like, he has at this point made a lot of noticeable improvements and like is a decent person aside from that part. I mean, that is just straight up immoral dog, but
it's okay. He was in a 15-year-old's body.
But the thing is, Kazuya, you can say whatever you want about Mushoku Tensei and its ending in particular, but Kazuya makes like no progress. What's a thing he grew in? Aside from his attraction towards Chizuru, which is the bad ending, and like actively putting him in a worse position, I should say. Like, what growth did he do? Please humor me.
He was about to grow at the very end of the episode where he confesses to Chizuru, be like, "You're the only one I want." Then immediately finishes to be like, "Oh, as a rental girlfriend."
God fucking damn it. That was the moment in the final episode that made me piss angry. I'm telling you, it's every episode.
Hey, but imagine the like how irate it would have made people if the show like there wasn't an after thing after the credits. It just ended there, and then season 2 opens with as a rental girlfriend.
Honestly, I would have preferred that because it would have made me so heated. But like, you can argue that that's growth, and it is in a certain respect, but it's also like he's evolving but backwards. And
they also can't make up their mind if Kazuya's like a good guy at heart or a total fucking loser. Because one episode he'll dive into the ocean to save a drowning Chizuru, and then the next episode he'll just stalk her. He'll actively there's no way around it. He just stalks her
straight up. I mean, okay, I don't think that the show can't make up its mind. Like, I can see a perfectly well-rounded character of being like, a willing to save people, but also selfish enough that he will just stalk them for his own reasons. But it's the fact that the show refuses to make him like give him an iota of development.
This does not negatively affect his relationship with Chizuru in any way.
Yeah, that's baffling.
If anything, Chizuru becomes slightly more attracted to him after she gives him the Christmas gift.
God, it's like he.
Remember, fellas, this is positive reinforcement. Yeah. If you stalk your favorite ethos, she might end up liking you more.
That's the moment that pissed me off in episode 9.
I think it was 7 or whatever.
Oh, 7.
I don't know.
I have these episodes way too memorized. I think it was episode 9.
10, 9, 8. 8.
No, I don't think it was episode. Okay, episode 8. Yeah. But yeah, I'm telling you, it's every episode, but he does sometimes get punished for being like a piece of shit in very surface level ways, might I add. Like, oh, you get slapped because you tried to unconsensually kiss Chizuru on the job
Yeah,
Well,
but he
actually, it
gets
wasn't a
punished
slap,
comedically. There's never like a moment
Yeah.
where he's like actually getting like berated for his bad behavior.
The thing is,
they all like anime punish him where like it's
yeah.
a slap, but there's a lot of like, Chizu's got like a funny meme face on where Ruka is like slapped him so hard he spins around.
The thing is, like, fuck, what was I gonna say? I lost the plot. Plot. Oh yeah. Okay, now I remember it. So Kazuya, he beats up on himself a lot, right? Like he
And he beats himself a lot.
well, yeah. But he has low self-esteem because he is, at the end of the day, a trash man. He is a trash man. And he's like, okay, yeah, I'm just a piece of shit. Characters are like, bro, don't talk to yourself like that. Or at least Chizuru is. But like the other characters in the show rarely beat up on him in the same way, when he absolutely like deserves a little bit of that, even if it's like just affectionately. If you are a good friend to Kazuya, you tell him that what he's doing is fucked up, that he needs to get his shit together. He needs to be like forcibly dragged off the ground and be told, no, quit descending to like the 11th layer of the abyss from Made in Abyss. You found a way to shovel, you invented a new layer of the abyss with a shovel. Like, bro, get yourself out. Get
Put
yourself
the shovel
together.
down.
Yeah, like stop digging yourself your own grave. But the thing is, it's like, that never happens. He is
his friend fights him once and that's it.
Yeah. Okay, that was base. But like even then it was because like he's like ditching Chizuru because he wants to go with Mami, and it's like a little bit of a misunderstanding. And it's like, it's good that he wants to split from, I mean, it's bad that he wants to be with Mami, but it's good that he wants to be away from Chizuru. It's just because of a misunderstanding that you're beating him up. Like, I guess it's also because, he has sort of two-timing behavior and follows his dick way too often, but at the same time, it's like, it is mostly predicated on a misunderstanding. I want him to beat him up because he is just a trash man. Because he does nothing but be trash all the time. I want someone to beat him up for that.
You know what instills likability in characters for me is when they interact with a female for the first time and then the same day immediately think about fucking them.
Yes, our mostest likablest of protagonists. God,
like it's one thing when it's his ex, and I actually did derive a little bit of enjoyment from that. The one scene with what was it, episode 5, I think, where
the masturbation scene.
Yeah, the legendary masturbation scene where there's this fucking sick, nasty electric guitar lick playing in the background while he's jerking it.
Song
and while
so
he's
much.
It goes so hard for the scene that's like okay, I take it back. That's the one time I laughed at the show, and not because, and I don't think it was in earnest. I think it's because it was trying too hard. I highly doubt that they were self-aware enough to do that. But yeah, as he's jerking it to Mami, because he's thinking about, oh gosh, Mami would look so hot at the beach. Oh, she kissed me, man. Oh, I might have a chance with her. Oh man, the thoughts of Chizuru start creeping in, and then when he like finishes, he's like, oh shit, I didn't come to Mami. I came thinking about Chizuru. Oh god, I actually am in love with her. And that was great. But
on that note, this show's OST is actually really good. For undeservedly good for this show. I mean, there's some songs that are just generic slice of life, but there are other songs that I was like, you know what, I'd put that in a YouTube video. I would put that as a backing track in a YouTube video.
I guess the chiptune rendition of the I don't know what that's called, but like the stereotypical like dead R.I.P. theme, like da 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 da. Like that.
There's some other songs too, but
pretty nice. But yeah, that, and at least when he's thinking about banging Ruka, like it's because she's actively brought him to a love hotel, like with the goal of fucking him. So I don't blame him there. But it's when he's on the trial date, the practice date with Sumi, and after doing the noble thing of like, hey, he's getting actually like harassed by some punks, and it's a pretty dangerous situation, and then he pulls his balls out of his purse, and then is able to pull her away from that bad situation. Then afterwards, when she's like thinking about, oh man, how cute Sumi is, and how like, hey, she's a looker, and when she talks, she's got a cute voice. Thinks about fucking her.
The thing is, that's like him at his most likable. Kazuya, when he's around Sumi, is like, showing her the ropes and being all confident and showing her what social confidence looks like, and, teaching her how to talk and saving her from bad situations. If Kazuya always acted like he did with Sumi, he'd be like kind of a cool dude. Maybe not the greatest character, because you still need like, some tension and arcs and whatever, but he'd at least be
13
like
clubs to the head.
Yeah, but it's like, in a vacuum, those scenes with Sumi are like him being decently likable. But it's because I know what came before. I know what kind of person he is. This is all a facade.
Trying to think if I have any other point I want to make about Kazuya before we move on to other characters.
I have no more about Kazuya other than he should date Ruka. And I have a very complicated list of reasons for why this is. Because
like he just should. Like, outside of the negative connotation of it was a trial relationship and she's kind of being manipulative outside of just the blackmail by just like throwing herself at him unconditionally.
There's even more to it than that. All right, so let's explain the situation.
Yeah, we can pivot into talking about Ruka now.
Background information. So Ruka is this like clingy bitch who wants Kazuya. I have this memorized because it sounded like my worst nightmare. Text her.
Yeah, how awful is that like the girl we agree is the most hot is like a clingy bitch?
Yeah, she's someone who I either never date in real life or tell her like, no, I'm not calling you twice a day. I'm not liking all your tweets, and I'm not never leaving you on red. I leave people on red all the time, by the way. I don't like always. I leave Neon on red all the time. He knows. He knows.
Well, Discord doesn't have a read.
Well,
feature,
yeah, it doesn't have a read feature, but I read your text.
You're not chronically online.
Yeah, I like read the message. You're like, huh, that's funny, and then I don't reply because I don't have anything other than LOL to reply with. That's why I leave people on red, is because I genuinely have nothing I want to say or input into the conversation. I just read your text and thought it was amusing. I don't need to always reply to you. But, Ruka is like, she is in chronic need of like reassurance that Kazuya, I guess, loves her. She's like someone who's very needy and high maintenance and needs you to be like, she's the type of girl who wants you to say, I love you, like 10 times a day, just so they like get it in their heads, because otherwise they'll worry that you aren't actually in love with them. Although paradoxically, once she figures out that Kazuya isn't in love with her and is in fact in love with Chizuru, she's like startlingly okay with that. And is like, I want to play the endurance game.
I'm in it for the long haul, bitch. Ow, domestic violence, boss, dock his pay.
So, but like, aside from all that and also the blackmail, the thing is, let's go through all the potential candidates for Kazuya to get with. Sumi is way too good for him. There is no universe where I want Sumi to get with Kazuya. Mami is like a social manipulator, and she's based, but like, obviously, that's not really much of a relationship. It's just kind of, Mami is not going to feel much from it, more than likely. The only reason she ever desires him at any point is because she thinks that he's pulling bitches and two-timing Chizuru. She's like, oh, shit. I missed out on like this high-quality man, and then as soon as she learns that he's renting girlfriends,
I don't think it's a thing that she's missing out on a high-quality man. She's missing out on a man that she used to date. And just like, oh, well, now all of a sudden he's happy without me. I can't.
Also that. I guess it's a thing of like, holy shit, this man actually, he's actually getting some. Like now I'm intrigued. Like, what changed? What the fuck changed? But now, obviously, not a relationship of any kind. But then we have Ruka. Ruka is kind of a cunt, kind of clingy and manipulative and blackmaily. But you know what? They're a match made in heaven. It's not the bad
They're
ending,
perfect for each other.
but they're both just as bad as each other, arguably so. Although, admittedly, like at first I was actually kind of endeared to Ruka's personality. I was like, you know what? I get her struggles. You know, I get how she is. She can change. I mean, since it's Rent-A-Girlfriend, she won't, but she can change. And in a good show, she would overcome these hurdles. But then she gets in on the lie, and as soon as any character is in on this big lie to Kazuya's grandma, they immediately become completely unlikable. And after that point, Ruka just pissed me off.
At least she rocks a good turtleneck.
She is incredibly hot. God damn, that one shot where it was panning up on her in the Love Hotel with the blush around her face. God damn, that
Taking off the socks.
That was getting to me.
Yeah, like in context, how did Kazuya not fuck him? Fuck her rather. Like how did he hold back? Knowing Kazuya. Unless he's somehow
so
just
in
that
love
loyal
with
to
Chizuru.
Chizuru.
Yeah, he's so
sure, dude.
loyal to the girl.
So loyal that he thinks about fucking other girls the day he meets them.
This is like the more I talk about this show, the more I'm realizing just how fucked up it is. It's like, you know, some girl wanted to date this dude, and the dude's like, "Nah, oh god, I want to DM Pokimane some more. I want to talk to this OnlyFans chick."
Imagine how much actually interesting the drama of the show would be if he did fuck her, but still ended up maintaining like feelings for Chizuru.
He'd be even harder to like, but at least sex happens, and that's so rare in anime. It'd get bonus points on that factor alone.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else we want to say about Ruka, and we've already pretty much expanded anything about Sumi before we get into the actual best character of the show.
Okay, so Mami.
I guess we glossed over Ruka's the whole deal when she was a rental girlfriend, and she's like the reason that she's going after Kazuya is because she has the irregular heart rate from birth. That
Neon, you say we glossed over it. The show glossed over it too.
Yeah, I love it when shows put their characters' entire backstory and reason for why they do things in the ED.
It's like a slideshow, presumably taken mostly from the manga, with like no actually voice acted lines, just text. Like, I guess like shoving Ruka's backstory into the end of an episode because why? I don't.
Because she's crying, and we need to give you a reason to sympathize with her because she can't be. She couldn't get excited about things when she was younger, because if she did, her heart rate would go up and it would cause her to pass out.
See, that's like an alright backstory for a character, but you need to like portray it in a way that gets me hooked into their struggle. Like I am obviously like I cognitively
understand. A minute and 30
understand.
seconds is all they need, Crunchy.
Yeah, it's like efficient storytelling. It's so tightly paced. No, Ruka, like, if you want me to get hooked into a character's struggle, you need to portray it in a way that, like, displays the emotions as properly as they can be, right? Like, you can argue that, like, oh, it's tightly done, it's all you need, you, like, cognitively understand it, but I want to feel it, man. I want to feel her struggle. That, right now, I don't. I don't at all.
And that's the whole reason why she's going after Kazuya, because for the one interaction that she had with him, which was where he just felt like followed her home. Yeah, and like she's about to fall down the stairs, and he catches her to keep her safe and takes a lot of bumps for her. it causes her heart rate to go up without passing out for the first time, and she's like, he's the one.
These characters are like Stockholm syndromed into liking Kazuya, I swear to God.
Yeah, there's
no
the
other
only character
explanation.
in this whole show that should reasonably like be attracted to Kazuya is Sumi, and
Because
we
she
both
hasn't
agree that,
seen the worst of him yet.
yeah,
She doesn't know.
I hope she never finds out. I hope she never explores that avenue. But we know that that's not how the show operates.
But anyway, Mami. I mean, the thing is, I do really like Sumi in the one episode she's in, but obviously she hasn't had time to shine. I guess I'd still say Mami is best girl because I just have this feeling in my soul that they're gonna fuck up Sumi. That she's not gonna remain such a pure soul for long. I know how this show operates. But Mami is actually best girl. You seem excited to talk about her, so I'll let you go ahead.
Yeah, so when the show came out, people were like, this Mami is a thought. We don't deal with trifling thoughts. To the streets with her. Like the streets are too good for Mami. And then there I stood with my one flag. Even though I wasn't even watching the show past episode 1, I just saw clips. But there I stood with my flag held high, the battered, bleeding, and bruised, with flying the Mami Nanami flag against a sea of Chizuru simps, being like, no, Mami is actually the best character in this show because she's a manipulative psychological bitch.
See, I inherently sort of like that kind of character who will just play mind games with people and like fuck them over. Obviously not a very healthy individual. You know, she's got some messed up stuff. She's like the type of person who, I mean, granted her backstory hasn't been exposited yet, but it's like she seems to just hold this grudge against everyone and everything. She's like so mad. I mean, maybe not like mad all the time, but
it
she
seems
just
like her
doesn't
go-to
care.
coping mechanism is to go on her private Twitter and just schizo post about venting about her like, oh yeah, this relationship's gonna last months. This fucking dumbass ex-boyfriend of mine. I hope you break up.
Yeah, and she's like so. Yeah, like holds this grudge against the world, I think is the best way to put it. And I'm not going to pretend like I don't kind of relate to that perspective, even if it hasn't been explored at all in the show.
No, don't tell me you're a fuck the world, fuck this type guy.
I don't want to be, but sometimes it do be like that. But like,
well, that's we'll tuck that away for another day.
Oh god.
See, what makes Mami so base is that she, when you break it down, in a way, is kind of as pathetic as Kazuya, just on the other end of the spectrum. Whereas Kazuya is a piece of shit and failing. Mami is a piece of shit and winning. She is succeeding and girl bossing her way into being a total fucking whore. Where she's doing things. She's playing fucking 5-degree chess with everyone around her to keep up this innocent, like, oh, she like pretends that she doesn't know what she's doing. She pretends she doesn't act like she's not actually leading Kazuya on the whole time at the beach. She berates him and like makes fun of him at a drinking party in episode 2 in front of his friends and Chizuru. Talking about like how much of a weirdo simp he was while they were dating, and Kazuya she knows that Kazuya doesn't have the spine to stand up for against her for himself, and so she almost gets off at like maintaining the social hierarchy of I'm at the top and I'm gonna make sure that I do whatever it takes to. At first, like, it's to embarrass him in front of his girlfriend. But then when Chizuru stands up for Kazuya, when Kazuya won't, and then Kazuya like kind of like not necessarily snap, but does kind of go off on Mami just a little bit, like, hey, like, what you said about me, that's between, like, our group, but it makes me feel bad when you talk shit about Chizuru, so, like, could you not? And then that fucks with Mami's, like, perception of where she stands in the social hierarchy. It's like, wait a second, you were, like, a weird simp boy who like is a spine of rubber that I could just walk all over. Why are you standing up for this girl who you like now just dating after a month when you never did that for me? I need to get to the bottom of this. This doesn't make sense because she can't possibly grasp the like any reality. It's like there's no way that you are just a better person without me all of a sudden. So I need to figure this out. And then she does, whether it's genuine or not, is up for interpretation at this point of the story, whether she's like wants to get back with Kazuya in earnest, or just to be like, oh, see, your love for Chizuru isn't as genuine as you make it out to be, because I could just win you back that easily. And it makes Mami not a good person, but a vastly interesting character.
I am like, I could watch a show about Mami socially manipulating people, just entirely about her struggles. She seems like a more interesting protagonist even than Kazuya, because although she is not traditionally likable, it's like I enjoy watching what she does. Though she has such an interesting presence, like this one screenshot of her just being completely dead-faced, like just hating everything. There's nothing but malice in those eyes. It has become like one of my favorite screenshots in anime because it just goes so hard.
I love, and you know what, we know what's great about it as I thought about it. Yeah, she has like the split, like borderline bipolar personality, where she'll put on the facade of like, oh, she's a cutesy, doesn't realize like what she's doing, kind of girl in front of her friends and other people. But when she's like by herself, or when she wants to like let it out to select people, she can be cold, calculating, and like very apathetic. At no point can I think of it outside of like very basic things that she like you can tell she's doing on purpose to like get people to do what she wants. I don't think she lies at any point in the show. Like she'll do things like, "Oh, Kazuya, I lost my bracelet. Come help me find it."
Well, that is like, you say she doesn't lie. That literally is a lie. She obviously like she finds it immediately after she kisses him.
Yeah, but she's not like in, I suppose, like rather than in stark contrast with a Chizuru and Kazuya, she's not like weaving this ever growing web of lies in order to like paint a picture. She's outside of like doing things like that in order to like ultimately help her game to manipulate Kazuya, because the only reason she like lied about her bracelet was to lure him behind the rocks to kiss him, to get him to act up. But like, yeah, she's not like this master like mind who's like expertly crafting this like all these lies to further her agenda. She's pretty straightforward and upfront about like what she's obviously hiding what her final goal is, but when it comes to her method, she's very upfront and straightforward.
Yeah, I guess you could say that, although I'd say definitely at the very least in episode 4, she is like not in love with Kazuya whatsoever. I mean, maybe that's not true, but the read I got is that like if she ever falls for him, it's going to be like later on, or maybe by the end of the first season she is. Because he does live rent-free in her head. The show has established that. But I'm not, it's unclear what her feelings towards Kazuya are now that she's found out that he's renting out girlfriends and lying to everyone. But in episode like 3 and 4, when she's manipulating him the first time, I don't think she has any feelings for him at that point. I think she's just like, what the fuck? I'm gonna fuck you over so hard for having a girlfriend. Bro, how did you even get one? I'm so mad.
The thing about her, like, going out of her way to wait at the hotel pool by herself does kind of make me think that there's might be a slight like truth behind her wanting to get with him, but I can like it absolutely it's more of less because she wants him and more of she doesn't want him.
She
to have
hates the
her.
world and Kazuya.
I don't think she necessarily hates Kazuya. She just because like even in at the towards the end of the series, like she does like feel conflicted about like she is telling herself like yeah, I chose him because he was like I would choose any guy. And then but
Okay, maybe hate is a strong word, but she does not have affection for him, I guess. Or
if she has
in a
affection
limited
for him,
capacity.
if she has affection for him, it is not out of a genuine love, it is out of a he belongs to me. Like
It's like,
like
what
like ownership.
I guess you could say that, where it's like, well, hold on. I can't have you pulling any other girls. Bro.
Yeah,
But
exactly. It's like I want you like at arm's length so I can pull you when I need to. But there's no like I need you to simp for me, but at the same time I can't have you simping for anyone else. I should be the center of your fucking world.
precisely. And it
And it
is
all
a
comes
very
to a
interesting
head.
character.
In the final episode where because in episode 11 she sees Kazuya and Sumi out on a date together, and then she's like, "Oh, how interesting. Are you you wouldn't be a fucking loser like you two-timing a babe like Chizuru? That can't fucking be." And so she's like looking up like Sumi's background, and this leads her to find Chizuru's background and be like, "Oh, you don't say." And it leads into the most cathartic moment in the entire show in episode 12, where Mami, pretending to be someone else, rents Chizuru out. And Chizuru's like super uncomfortable the entire time because like she's like Mami's busted her. She's figured out everything. Mine is like, oh, I know what you really are now. And kind of like, as opposed to all like Chizuru's past clients who, you know, it's supposed to be a normal date, she's like once again girl bossing and like getting off to like the control that she has in the situation being
so
like
good. This is
Yeah,
where
it's
the
like,
show
oh,
kind of becomes genuinely good for like
this is the kind
half
of
an
like
episode.
shit that the show should have been exploring, like the darkness of these kinds of relationships. And now like, hey, what happens when you find yourself in this exact kind of situation where it's like, hey, you're so dedicated to making the client feel good, right? And I'm like, hey, I'm not like making you do anything awful. I'm not saying, hey, kiss me. I'm not trying to bed you or anything. We're just going out for karaoke, Chizuru. I want you like, hey, what do you usually sing for Kazuya? What do you sing for your clients? Oh, you like so you change it up depending on the client, or you make sure that it's a song that they know? Oh, that's so cool. Why don't you sing for me? Sing for me right now, you bitch. Sing for me. Like, it's so good.
It's not even that she's insulting her directly. It's that she
Yeah,
has like,
I'm
this cutesy voice that, but it's like so cold and calculated. You can feel the rage behind her mask. You can feel that her words are just like dripping with poison. And she's
it's like when Chizuru is like trying to refuse the money, it's like, I don't think I can accept your money because this doesn't seem like a proper date. And she's like, oh no, I insist. Hey, if you're not gonna take it for, you know, this rental date, at least take it as like prize money for fooling everyone for a year about your relationship. Like, bravo, you have my utmost respect for that.
So good. Or when
It's
she like this amazing one of the few shots that like genuinely got me was when she's like walking up. All right, so Chizuru is like trying to refuse to sing, but Mami walks up to her and you know is like standing up while Chizuru's sitting down. We get Chizuru's perspective looking up at Mami, and she's just like, sing for me.
Yeah, she doesn't like slam it down in anger, but she like firmly places the microphone in front of her and just says, sing for me. She's not like saying it nice. She's not saying, oh, won't you please sing for me, Chizuru, my rental girlfriend? She's saying like, do it.
It's just a dry command.
Because like it's your job, right? Do your job. You're so dedicated, aren't you? And just like making her feel like shit for like everything that's like she stood for. Because like, hey, I thought you were like so dedicated to your clients, right? So I'm your client. Be dedicated to me.
It's so
and that is
good.
Why Mami is
I
the best
love her
character
so
in
much.
Girlfriend.
And that's the thing. Like, there are some times when this show genuinely gets, like, kind of good. Episodes 11 and 12 more so, yet simultaneously less so than episode 11, is, like, kind of actually good. But the thing is, I know it won't last. I know these are brief glimpses into what could have been, and that as soon as we're in season 2, they're gonna ruin Sumi. At the end of episode 12, we get more dumb bullshit with Kazuya and Chizuru. As soon as the show focuses on like Kazuya and Chizuru
Mami
again, oh god! I hope they don't ruin Mami. Although if they ruin her in a way that is like super spectacular, I might be able to like enjoy it as I have been for the show thus far.
That she's the one, like, obviously, yeah, she's a bitch in real life, and if I knew her in real life, I want nothing to do with her, but as this character in this fictional program, she's like, I just find her vastly fascinating, and also especially because everyone around her is not that complex, or I just dislike outright.
It's not even, well, Sumi isn't complex, but, like, it's not even that the characters don't have depth to them. Because I could see someone doing, like, genuine character analyses of, like, Ruka's whole hang-up, Chizuru's, Kazuya's. They aren't flat or, like, one-dimensional characters. It's that they are so unlikable, and that the show fails to make any meaningful point with them, at least thus far, and doesn't seem like it's building towards one, and is in fact actively making a bad message in the form of Kazuya and Chizuru's growing romance. It's like, the characters on the surface do have depth, and you should be able to get hooked into them, but it's that the show isn't aware of what it needs to do with them that is the issue.
Yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. I'm trying to think of any other final points we want to make, because I feel like we're coming up on 2 hours, and I feel like that's all the time we should dedicate to this.
Well, I will say that... Oh, okay, one more thing that annoys me throughout the show that I forgot to mention, but that I was, like, screaming about in those, like, hidden messages on my server that I didn't want you to click on. So, one of Kazuya's main reasons for not getting with Ruka is that he thinks it'll make Kuri sad. That Kuri, like his rental girlfriend that he has a parasocial relationship with, Kazuya now actually is dating. And Kazuya's like, oh yeah, that'll make Kuri so sad, so I'll just like hide the relationship from him. It's yet another lie in this increasing web of lies. And I'm like, who the fuck cares about what Kuri thinks? Like, I know it's like friend code, bro code, or whatever. Like, my guy, it wasn't even a real relationship. He shouldn't have had that attachment in the first place. It's his fault. If he feels bad because you're dating Ruka, that's his fault. I don't care if Kuri sees. He should see. He should see how pathetic he's being by being hung up on this bitch. Bro, why are you placating Kuri in this way? It makes no sense. Why? That made me mold. Because he kept on bringing it up as a reason why, oh, I can't get with Ruka, I can't have him see me with Ruka. Bitch, who cares? Who cares what Kuri thinks? I don't care about Kuri as a character, and even if I did care about him as a character, I would want him to see it. Because I would want him to feel bad and then realize that he has this parasocial attachment that he shouldn't have, and then he can better himself. I needed to get that off my chest, because I was molding about it in the show.
Yeah, I guess the last thing we can talk about is we didn't really talk about the opening or the ending.
The opening is amazing. Way too good for this show. I love the opening so much. It might not be your kind of song. I love the song.
The Peggies have a trend recently for making openings for like really good opening songs for hot garbage shows, like between this and Bunny Girl Senpai.
Oh, you just made so many people mad.
I don't care. Bunny Girl Senpai is fucking shit. If I fight me, well,
I haven't seen it, so I wouldn't know.
I'm curious because I called it like diet monogatari, or like monogatari for people who are even more pretentious, because at least monogatari has a visual style and flair that matches its pretentiousness, whereas
I mean, we're gonna have an entire Castaway anyway rant about this more than likely, so
yeah. And whereas Bunny Girl Senpai is just as pretentious, but doesn't even have the like decency to look good.
Yeah, neon pretentious Manta calling yet another show pretentious. Who would have guessed? But
as far as the visuals in the opening, at least the TikTok dances are kind of cute. Otherwise, everything else is pretty basic.
I do like the visuals in the opening. Obviously the TikTok dances. That one string of shots where it's like, I think the lyrics are like "ega wo" or whatever, and with each syllable, it's showing like Ruka, Mami, and Sumi. I'm pretty sure, yeah, because
they're holding like a camera and it's like rotating. Yeah. I do think about Ruka sticking out her tongue to the beat to the lyrics a lot.
And but I mean, I do agree with you that the visuals aren't incredible or anything. It's mostly the song. I fucking love the song.
I don't know. Maybe I just am not that big into the Peggies. The song's not bad. Maybe it's one of those songs like I recognize that it's decent. I'm not like over the moon for it.
I haven't actually seen the Bunny Girl Senpai OP, so I have no idea what it's like.
I think you've heard it. It's the one that goes like Kimi no se, Kimi no se, Kimi no se ne watashi, ooh, like that one. Surely you've heard it.
I'm getting like vague deja vu now that you're mentioning it, but I don't listen to it frequently. But I do really like this song. Like this song is too good for this show. Although I will say, the visual in the OP, best guy ever talked about this on Canton with the receipt on the ground as Kazuya and Mizuhara are like holding hands together. That also annoys me.
Yeah, that just kind of sums up the show, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Hey, we're in love. Oh, by the way, that'll be like 2,000 yen. That'll be like 20,000 yen, by the way.
God.
And then
she is canonically bringing him dry.
Yeah, he might as well be her pay pig.
He literally is. But anyway.
And then the ED, maybe this might be controversial. I like the song. I like the song more
than the opening. Okay, well that's insane. But I do like the song for the ED. The visuals are Kazuya masturbating.
Yeah, it's just him masturbating and the girls cheering him on in his head.
And then it gets to real life and he's like drowning in cola, and like all the girls are like throwing him down there.
Yeah, and he's fantasizing about Chizuru in all these different situations. And the one, I don't know if I should like this detail, but I noticed it while watching it. At the end of it, normally, all four of the girls are naked and they're about to like blush kiss him, and right before he finishes masturbating and throws the tissue away. The order of the girls, or whoever shows up at the end last to kiss him, does change depending on the which girl was the focus of the episode.
I did not notice that.
At first it's Mami, then it becomes Chizuru, then it becomes Ruka, and then the one time in episode 11 it becomes Sumi.
I honestly skipped the ED a lot. Slash was like typing in my notes while it was playing.
I wasn't watching it every time because it's one of those songs where it's got a nice opening hook. The verses I don't care for, but the chorus I do really like.
I think the entire song is pleasant. I enjoy it, but not enough to like be a must watch like the OP is for me. Sometimes I would even loop the OP a couple times before starting the episode. I really like that song.
Well, to each their own. And then there's one final line that I want to mention that I didn't really have a spot throughout the podcast to say it. This is where Chizuru shows off her true retardation, where she says, "Oh please, what's sexy about a back? You fool!"
Of course, Neon.
That just proves that she is uncultured.
Of course, Neon would find a way to have an issue with that line.
Don't pretend like you wouldn't take issue with it too.
You know what? Yeah, I'm not gonna pretend any longer. I can think of some situations where that's pretty hot. Other than that, I don't.
And I like how we cap off this 2-hour discussion of like anti-simpery.
Backs are hot.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, the final takeaway from this podcast is that women are in fact hot, but that does not mean you should dedicate your entire life and money and savings and thoughts to women entirely.
Or maybe you should, according to this show.
Yeah, the show would make you think otherwise, but we are here to boop you on the snoot with the newspaper of the cold reality. We're here to shake you in the cold piss.
Well, what I'm now interested in, once we've finished this podcast, is to ask you, what would you give it out of 10?
The only good things about this show is that the artwork, the animation is like nothing to write home about. It's very bog standard, generic, uninspiring. Same with the direction. The artwork is very nice. They do go out of the way to make it so that the characters are drawn nicely on model, and the girls especially, they go out of the way to make them as hot as possible whenever they can. And of course, Mami is a genuinely interesting character. But everything else about it is so abhorrent and dangerous that I've had a hate boner for Rent-A-Girlfriend ever since it came out, and now that I've seen it and can have a fully informed opinion on it, I am now confident with my 3 out of 10 score.
So I have 2 scores for this anime. I call them the sane score and the insane score. If we're going the sane score, I completely agree with you. It's at a 3 out of 10. It can't be a 1 because it's not a generic isekai. Can't be a 2 because I do genuinely like Sumi and Mami. Sumi for very basic reasons, Mami because she's very based. But 3, it goes because the show's construction is like so terrible and, you know, so bad, and everything about it is terrible, and this message sucks. God damn it. There's something about it that makes me so viscerally angry, but in a way that makes me kind of like enjoy yet also despise the experience of it. And it is something that I have never felt to this extent in a show before. It's like, it's hard to even call it so bad it's good. But it's because it's not good by any stretch of the imagination. But something about it is like oddly, and the way I would describe it is enrapturing. It's like this horrifying train wreck that pisses me off every episode. But it's like, I can't look away. If we stopped the podcast on Rent-A-Girlfriend right now, never watched season 2 or 3, I'd probably still put them on my plan to watch. And I would probably have to go through it someday because I'm so interested in it. It's like this cryptid, this specimen that I, as the scientist, must dissect. I'm like kind of tempted to make a main channel video on it once season 3 finishes airing, because it's like so perplexing in its construction, so bizarrely bad in a way that no other show is, that I just, for whatever reason, feel compelled to put myself through it. That every episode, the next episode button is so easy to click because I'm so curious about what will happen next. So if I'm going insane, like this show has made me, I'd say, if I had to put a number on these feelings of mine, it'd be a 6. But it is like so, it's like when I give it that score, I feel like I'm tearing myself apart inside. But it's like, it kind of puts a label on the experience. These mixed emotions I feel. So I think I have to go the insane score, even though I know in my head that it does not deserve that by any metric.
Actually, I gotta update my score. It's actually at a 1 out of 10 because the entire time I was watching it, I could have been playing Tears of the Kingdom.
Oh yeah, you didn't even mention that. Okay, quick, regale the audience to what you experienced with that.
There's not much of a story. We were gonna record last night at the time of us recording us now, to finish the episodes. But between going to pick up the game before it sold out a day early and having to go into work early, I couldn't finish the episodes in time, so we had to put off the recording by a day. And I needed to finish the episodes in time, so I could have been playing the brand new Zelda Tears of the Kingdom sequel to Breath of the Wild that everyone's gonna lose their goddamn minds over because of how big Breath of the Wild was and how big this game is. But no, even now, this entire 2 hours, I've had the game sitting in front of me on my desk, and I could have been playing it this whole time, but Rent a Girlfriend and Reiji Miyamoto, whatever his name is. Mia Kojima Hideo. He was keeping me away from it, and that is a sin I can never forgive, and that's why it gets a 0 out of 10, actually.
That is completely fair. Honestly, fairer than my score. And yeah,
So
Rent a Girlfriend is
now
something else.
The last thought that I have is that when we cover season 2, if we have the time between once, because after this we're gonna be covering all of the summer seasonals that we agreed to cover with like Oshinoko, Jigokuraku, and Heavenly Delusion. If there is a gap of time that we need to fill to wait for the finales of those shows, and that's when we cover Rent a Girlfriend season 2, I can't help but wonder, like, if that podcast is going to end up a lot shorter than this one, because we've gotten our main criticism about the show and its themes and what it represents out of the way now. Because now all that's left to do, unless Rent a Girlfriend season 2 introduces a whole new can of worms for us to open about this sort of thing, about, you know, these rental girlfriend relationships and toxic parasocial relationships. What content could it give us that could spark nearly as interesting or as long-winded a discussion?
Well, what I've heard is that, like, season 1 of the show, in tandem with the eventual movie arc that I think is coming in season 3, I've heard that those two are the peaks. Season 2 is going to be nothing but valleys. And what I wonder, will my, like, hate-love relationship with the show persist, or will it, like, completely plummet to just pure unadulterated rage and hatred, because it just gets so insufferable? And it's honestly kind of a coin flip, but if I had to guess, if it's, like, anywhere close to as enraging on a moment-to-moment basis as this block of episodes, I think I'll find a way to soldier through and talk about all of the different ways it messes up and probably find it just as interesting a specimen. Because like I said, every episode makes me mad, and it's for a variety of different reasons. And if the show keeps on making me this furious, I feel like I can get something out of it to say.
And if you want to be around for when we do talk about Season 2 and the other summer seasonals, viewers, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, like the video, and head on down to the comments, give us your thoughts on Rent a Girlfriend. Is it actually not the incel-bait that we've been made it out to be this whole time? Is it actually a deep, philosophical, underappreciated, misunderstood masterpiece?
Kazuya's the greatest protagonist of all time.
Please, like, defend yourself so we can mock you vehemently and publicly.
Don't say that, then they won't comment.
Well, good, because they no praise for the show. I'm gatekeeping praise for the show. It is the right thing to do for society.
You know, you make a good point.
And I think that'll do her for this episode of the Castaway Anime Podcast. I'm Neon Manta.
And I'm gerrymandering fruitcake. I brought it back.
And you'll see us next time.